Hey guys, Michael here. Anyways, let's get started with this week's challenge. I'm really excited for this. And I've kind of got it set up to where it's going to really scale to everyone's kind of where they're at. So I've got kind of like a little thing on here at the beginner area if you really don't understand a thing that's going on, if you've had no training in energy work where you can kind of learn to make an energy ball. And then here's kind of like the thing where once you've kind of gotten the energy ball kind of figured out, you can go into this one. But if you already have that kind of down, then you can kind of go into these other two where it's a bit more of an intermediate, and that's kind of like the main challenge I kind of thought of. And then we've got more of an advanced-ish kind of category if you want to try that out, and that one's a little bit more fun. And that will be more towards the end of the video. And anyways, feel free here to kind of go through each one of these different categories if you would like. And I don't expect you to just go through this entire video because it might be a little bit more long. But anyways, let's start the challenge here. Now, if you've never actually made an energy ball in your life, or even felt your own energy for that matter, that is completely okay. So I'm going to show you guys how to make one and kind of the ideas around it. So there's kind of two steps to making the energy ball. The first step is you want to move the energy to your hands, of course. Now there's multiple ways how to do this and kind of multiple interpretations throughout other videos, but I'm just going to show you a bit of a quick way. And then the second bit is you want to fill like the kind of the guts of the ball itself and kind of put the energy there. But the last step is very important, especially if you want to have the ball going elsewhere or even doing other things. And this last step isn't necessarily necessary for the beginner version, but it's important especially if you want to do the intermediate. And this one's shelling. And shelling is basically kind of forming a shell around the ball itself to where it's not going to have its energy just kind of go poof and it goes everywhere and you're just like, well, crap. So, alright, so let's kind of show you the first bit. And you even may be able to feel your own energy for the first time if this is your first time working with energy, period. So we're going to kind of cup your hands like this, and this will kind of get you used to feeling your own energy if you've never had that before. So I want you to kind of feel the heat, the cold, the shape of your hands, and even just the air flowing over them. And you really just want to shift all of your awareness to those kind of feelings. And you should kind of feel like a tingling, or even kind of a fuzzy feeling, or even heat, or even just kind of your hands just getting really cold. And once you've gotten that, it's like, congratulations, you felt your own energy for the first time. And energy can kind of feel different to a variety of different people, but it's kind of a variety of those different feelings. So once you've gotten there, like, Michael, how do I make the ball now? Well, I'm getting to that. So now there's two ways to do this that I'm going to show you here. Now the first way, once you've kind of got, you felt like you've built up enough energy in your hand, it kind of feels like it's really starting to tingle, it's really hot, really cold, and so on. And that's kind of tells you you've gotten enough in your hands to where you can make the ball now. So you want to either feel something forming in your hands or you want to visualize. Preferably, some people like to go with the visualizing, some people like to just feel something forming in their hands. I like to feel. So you're going to do that now, and voila, there's our ball. So now that we've gotten the ball here, now we want to shell it. So to shell it, you'll kind of want to either visualize or feel something hard form around it. And it's a little bit more kind of difficult to do than you might think. It's like, oh, I'll just kind of, do it. But it's kind of like you actually feel the energy start to form around it, and you've got to make it stable. And that's kind of the bit more harder part. Because it's like, it's not just imagining, you really have to make sure it's a stable thing. And this is where a lot of focus comes into play for some people. So now we're going to do that now. Alright, so that's got it all shelled up. Now you can basically kind of move it anywhere you want, or even you can set it on the table right over here. That's kind of out of shot, and it's basically fine. And You can set it there all night and it's not going to go anywhere. And it may dissipate after a few days, especially if you didn't really get it a really good shelling or if you did it really fast. But anyway, that shows you basically how to make the energy ball, and you can either move on to the beginner version of the challenge here, or the intermediate version. It's kind of your choice. But anyways, I'll see you in either one. Now for the first version of this challenge, it actually has a few applications that are actually pretty useful. These are not going to be useless exercises here that I'm just going to throw at you, because I honestly feel, what's the point of doing that to you guys? So the first kind of three things that immediately come to mind, there may be more applications to this, but the first one basically being, it's basically useful for healing applications, feeling a person's energy, and so on if you're a healer. And the second one's kind of going into psychometry, where you can kind of get the history of an object, of either an object or a place even, like a person's room or a house, and so on. And then the third one is more kind of going into connecting with the crystal. And I'm going to kind of show you all three. And the first one we're going to kind of get into is, well, with our lovely plants here, is just feeling the energy of a living thing and kind of getting into the different things of that. So let's go over here to our plant. So we're just going to form an energy ball around it, like here, like so. Okay, now 1, 2, and 3. Alright, now that you've got the energy ball formed around the plant, well, you're going to kind of notice a few different things about it here. First kind of being, it feels a little different than actually just creating an energy ball on your own. And what that subtlety is just feeling the plant's energy and just its energy centers around it. And as you kind of practice a bit more, especially within your own body, you're going to kind of notice the differences in those subtleties. And this can be very much extended on to even a person. And when I first started, I started out with plants, just to kind of get an idea of a different person's energies, because you really don't want to start on a person specifically, because it can kind of get a little weird. And if you want to kind of use a point of reference of what a person's energies feel like, use yourself and kind of move your energy around in your own body. Alright, so now that we've kind of gotten that, something you'll kind of notice here, is, especially within the plant here, is there's an energy center. I'm going to kind of put into the energy ball here. An energy center right around here. It's a very kind of the central one. And there's kind of little mini ones kind of up through the tips here. And its aura is right around about here. And that's just what I could tell from that plant alone, just by feeling it. And I can see what's going on with this plant. And it's in good shape. Now for the second use here. Now for the second use, I'm going to kind of go into a bit of psychometry. So I've got my Grand Teton metal over here. Alright, so this was a relay I did, for those of you who are wondering. It was a 188-mile race where we just kind of went over to the Tetons and we, raced for 24 hours. And it seems crazy to a lot of people, but it's a lot of fun actually. Anyways, so with this, you may wonder, it's like, okay, how do we find out the history of an object? So what you do is it's basically forming an energy ball around the object like so. And you can just even kind of just feel your energy up in your hands. You can kind of feel it. And you can kind of like see the different memories of what happened, like what this metal did, where it was, and how it handled. And it kind of just gives off the history of the object. You may kind of get feelings off of it, or even flashes of things that happened, and so on. And this can be very true, especially if a room for people that are very empathic. And so, like, if someone was to kind of go into, like, let's say, like, just in a normal teenager's room, they could kind of get an idea of where do they kind of go to think, how do they feel about themselves when they kind of look in the mirror, or so on. and it's kind of almost a really good investigative tool too. So now moving on to like connecting with a crystal. Let's see, which one should I choose here? Let's use this one. Let's use this sphere. Alright, so we got my sphere here. Now, crystals actually do have their own energy structure, and it's kind of very interesting to kind of look at. This one, he needs to be kind of cleaned out with his energy here. Just holding him now. So what we'll do is we'll kind of hold him in my hand here, and we're just kind of project the energy in. Just you can even just kind of fill up your hand with energy, and you kind of get a good feel of what a crystal's energy feels like. And you can even kind of have a two-way communication between the crystal. You just kind of have to get an idea of like the feelings that come off of it, and you may even be able to communicate with feelings back at first, maybe even words or even kind of images, thoughts, and so on. And you can actually have a two-way communication with the crystal and kind of form a link. Now, I'm not going to show you how to form a link in this video, but that is just kind of an application you can do where you can really start to interact with your crystal. You can store energy in them, and so on. But that concludes this kind of first part of the challenge. And I understand for some of you this may have been very, very easy, and it's like, wow, this was kind of very easy. But I also wanted to include some very useful applications in here as well. Now, for two energy balls, that's getting a little bit more interesting. Now, you may think, what's the use of using two energy balls with this? Well, there's actually quite a variety of uses. So, the first one being like, hey, if I've gotten like really good with, just expanding my energy out and I'm able to feel things around me, well, can you keep track of all the things that are in there? Because what people tend to do is when they expand their energy outwards, they tend to focus on one thing, or they're looking for one particular thing. And this is going to kind of help getting multiple streams of information that are coming your way and are able to kind of interpret what's going on around you. And this is especially very important if you ever want to get into either astral traveling or even ether travel. Because if you can't sense what's going on around you, like by feeling what's going on around you, or even with sight, sight it's okay, but if you can't feel what's around you, you've really kind of gotten yourself pretty blind. So that is especially important. We're going to put that as our first one. It's very, very useful for just the applications alone of like even getting to like ether travel and astral travel. Now the second kind of use is a bit more kind of into what some would really like to do with this. The first one kind of being like if you have a spouse or even a sick kid, you can kind of use this to kind of say, hey, I want to make sure that they're okay for the day. And you may not even have to use two, but it can kind of keep a link to you and what's going on with a loved one throughout the day. And this is kind of just making sure, hey, are they alright? So what we're going to do here is we got our two lovely plants here again. And so we're going to make the energy ball and make sure to shell it if you didn't already see the video on creating energy balls, and you may have to go back, and I'll put that over here. And so create the energy ball, shell it. Okay, put the first one up, put the first one up above that green plant there. Okay, and then we've got the second one. Okay, now something you want to really keep in mind, you have to maintain the connection between the two of these here to really keep them in suspension here. And I mean, you can technically set a shell ball down somewhere, but it's really much easier for your first time if you're keeping that mental connection that both of them are there. And it's going to be kind of weird. You can kind of mess around with it at first where you just create one and you just kind of press one here and here, and you can set them on the table to where you can kind of see, oh, that's how it's going to go, and what it kind of feels like to maintain that connection with them. Because for the first time for a lot of people, even if they've shelled it, it can kind of feel like it just goes poof. So Now that we've got the connection maintained between the two of them, we're going to expand them both now. They're going to move over the plants, and, well, just like the last one, with the other uses I explained in that one, you're going to kind of feel like the different energy centers and like the aura that's kind of right about here, and there's kind of a main one that's right around here in this center here, and there's main one here and here in the plant that I can already kind of feel and see just doing that alone. But anyways, that kind of gives you a rough idea of what you can do with this one. And if you didn't check out the first video, please do, because it actually has some very interesting things. Even if you feel like you're more advanced and kind of above that, I would recommend checking out that video, because even at the most basics, you can still learn a lot. And I see that every day of my training. Anyways, I'll see you in the third challenge.
Now we're outside. Now this is really, really fun because I don't get to go outside very often with like my videos because it's like a little hard to get things out here. But anyway, this is the third and part of the challenge for those of you that are a bit more advanced-ish. And here's kind of what it involves here. You're going to be taking 2 energy balls and you're going to be sending them to that tree right there and that pine tree. Now, the thing with this is, why are we doing this? Because it kind of seems like this is kind of useless and it's just a pointless exercise. Not really, because like the last one, not only are we working with 2 different points of things that we're sensing at the same time and keeping our focus on, which not only improves your focus, but it also kind of keeps you where you're able to sense multiple things at one time. Even though they're far away, they can even have applications to where it's like you're sensing different things in the body at the same time if you're a healer, or if you're just wanting to, like, like me, I like to go out to different star systems and planets, and even, as we all know, I go off to the Andromeda Galaxy for sometimes and study the Salharians there, which could be a lot of fun. And I'm still working on that video, sadly, because drawings and they're very, very hard to draw. But anywho, let's get started with this. So get your energy ball here. Can I get it all shelled up? Okay, now let's get it over to that pine tree first. All right. Now for the second one, keep a hold of that first one that's going to be sitting over the tree where you're at or wherever. Okay, now send that second one over there. Okay, now that we've both gotten those over the trees, just expand them outwards. Try to sense the aura of the tree, kind of sense the different layers, and also the energy centers and the vortices that kind of are at the trees at different points, and try to just get a good read on them. And you may think, well, I'm just sensing trees. The trees actually have some very interesting things about them and how they work. And it's also kind of good if you're just trying to find people. Like if you want to use your gift to find people for sensing far off things, it's like not only you're sensing things for far off distances, like you would even just for like going off to other planets and finding those with life on it, might I say, but you're also tuning this to be able to find other people. And since you're working with plants here, you can kind of tune out the plants from people. And that is actually a very good skill to have, because what you'll often notice is like between dogs, people, and plants, they're all very different. And so this kind of thing where you're doing this, it's actually kind of calibrating your senses to be able to go out to all these different spots here. So anywho, guys, that's the end of this challenge, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. And anyways, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Check out some of the other challenges too, because honestly, like if you did breeze through this one, there are some interesting things to learn in the other challenges as well. They're not just kind of like beneath you. Because even when you're in the more advanced stuff, you often find yourself going back to your roots with the more basic stuff. Because you learn so much and you just keep going back. Because it all comes back down to basics. If you forget the basics, you don't stand much of a chance of getting to the more advanced stuff later. Anyways, have a great night, guys. Subscribe, like, share if you want to, and I'll see you guys next time.